Hi everyone and welcome back to Plan for Productivity. I really hope you had a good time during the holidays. It's finally the new year and I'm so excited because today we're going to be setting up my new bullet journal. So pretty. So this time I decided to go back to the Lichtrum. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I decided to give it another shot. That was my first bullet journal and we'll see how it goes. I really needed a journal that had a lot of pages because the Scribbles That Matter, while it is one of my favorite brands, unfortunately only has 160 pages and that's just not enough for me. So I went with this one and I ended up picking the teal version. I decided to not pick a theme this year. Instead, I'm just going along and deciding more or less with whatever comes to mind for every single spread. So without further ado, let's get started. For the index and these pre-made pages in the journal, I like to decorate them a little so that you can't really see the font and the different languages of what it came from. So I just decided to go with some washi tape to cover up the letters. And I decided to create this along the 3 pages, and I used this set of washi tape that I bought from Michael's, and I'm using it all over the text so that it looks just like a band of color and then you don't have to see the pre-written text. Because the index is a page that I reference too often, I like to give it a little bit of a marker with the washi tape. So I'll just fold it over on the page, and that way whenever my notebook is closed, I can see that little black washi tape on the edge, and I can just refer to that as my index and I'll know where to find it easily. For the first journal of the year, I always like to include an overview of the whole year. I don't know, this is obviously a huge sort of like waste of time because it takes a long time to write all of the numbers and everything, but I just like the way that it looks and it feels on a new journal, and I actually do go back to that page whenever I'm planning on the journal. So since, as I mentioned before, I don't have a theme for this journal, I just decided to go with some very basic font for the 2020, and then I wrote down the numbers for every day of the month. Then I just went in with this yellow mild liner because that's the color that I wanted the spread to be, to write in all of the names of the months. But since that doesn't give it enough definition, I just wanted it to be kind of like a pop of color. I went in with my Papermate marker and rewrote all of the names on top of that so that it would be a more clear title with still the pop of yellow color. For the final details of the spread, I just decided to add a little bit of washi tape, the same one that I added for the index, and then I added a yellow one for the matching color of the spread. The future log. So this is a page where you're going to be writing a lot of notes on events that you have throughout the year and throughout the following months. So I like to start it with February because I already have my January monthly calendar, and I'll just write in the headers of the months so that I can just write in the events that I have. The reason why this isn't more detailed and I don't have the whole calendar view of the month so I can write in the proper dates is because I tend to do this more on my phone or my virtual calendar, and that's where I'll write long-term events. I just want this as a page to reference if I do happen to make this planning on my bullet journal in that month, or if I want to include maybe some ideas that I want to do on specific months or goals that I want to pursue, not necessarily for events. And that's why I just left a little bit of space for each month of the year, and why I've included every single month of the year as well. The future log also is a page that I would like to reference easily, which is why I created the same kind of marker, except I made it like a full page of washi tape on gold so I can just see it when my notebook is closed. The following are spreads that I think are just so important to include in any journal that you have because it's pages that you're going to reference often, and that would be your sometime soon list, which is basically a place where you write down tasks, ideas, goals, etc. that you want to do sometime soon, but not necessarily in any given date. And this is super important and useful to me because I'll keep maybe future projects there and reference them whenever I'm planning a new month. And the next one is the wish list, which is something that I love using because this way I can just write down everything that I want instead of making an impulse buy in the moment. I like to separate my wish list in want and need because the things that I need I'll most likely end up getting very quickly, and then the things that I want is where I can just curate the list as I go. And I like to keep this at the beginning of my journal. And since I created this gold washi tape marker for my future log on the other side, it works for these 2 pages on this side. The next spread is my reading list for 2020. And this time, instead of writing the books that I want to read, I have that list in my computer already. I am just writing the books that I've read this year. So this is what it ended up looking like. I went in with some magazines at the top and then just with a Sharpie to write the title and with some washi tape to write the heading for the table. And I created a little space to write if it's an audiobook or a Kindle book, the title of the book, when I started it, the end date, and then finally the rating, and then one thing that I'm gonna sort of take with me from that book. And then I just added a little bit of details here at the bottom with the same washi tape that I used in the beginning and the washi tape for the header of the table because that gives it a little bit of cohesiveness and details. So those are the spreads that I would include at the beginning of my journal. This is where you would want to include any of the spreads that you're going to be tracking for the year that you know already that you want to track. So for example, your activity tracker for the full year, your year on pixels that you want to track before you get into your goals and the vision for the year and all that stuff, which I'll be talking about in another video. And finally, I included this at the end just because it's a little bit of a flair on your journal. Like I said, I don't like the pre-printed words on my journal, so I covered them with washi tape. I wrote in the date where I started my journal, which hopefully I'll be able to write in the date when I finished it next to it or under it. And then next to it, I just wrote my name in this gold marker that makes it a little bit, gives it a little bit of personality and branding to my journal. After setting up everything for the year and then your goals for the year and all that stuff, I would go into January, which I simply created a very minimalistic title just with January and a little quote that says, "Trust the magic of new beginnings." And then I created the monthly spread, which, I really like to have the full version, calendar version of the monthly spread because it just gives me a lot more space to plan. And then I added some washi tape details and a colored theme, which goes into my goals, which I left some space to do a little bit more planning here, and then I just started already with my journal. So that would be it for the setting up of my 2020 bullet journal. I like to do this every time I get a new bullet journal. I kind of set up the things for the whole year. I really hope you guys liked it and that you found some spreads that you might want to get inspiration from, and if you do, make sure to tag me on Instagram so I can share them in my stories. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you have a happy new year.